Hey guys, let's talk about how to start collecting 1000 Suns in 10th edition 40k most efficiently. I have experienced that myself, I've collected them, and I know where to on how to save money and do it the quickest way. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First, as always, let's discuss the Combat Patrol 1000 Suns, which is supposed to be the main thing that you use to collect that army or to at least start your collection. And in a way, it does that. Only in a way. It costs $160, and for that you are getting 20 Zangors that cost $110, and it's an okay battle line unit. In addition to your rubrics, they're the second choice, and they give you a cabal point on a 4+ every turn. So whenever they are on an objective, you can roll a 4+, and you get a cabal point extra one. So it's like a half cabal point essentially. In that sense, they're like half of the rubric squad, because those guys give you one cabal point every turn. These guys give you one every second turn. They're relatively durable for their price. Again, they're toughness 4, which helps, and they also have a 6+ invulnerable save, so they're significantly tougher than the Chaos Cultists, which you could take as well, but obviously nothing even closely compared to the rubrics themselves. My main problem with the Zangors is that they are not fulfilling any particular role apart from staying on the home objective, which they can do reasonably well. So they don't do any damage, even en masse, and they cannot provide cover for our characters as well, unfortunately. This Combat Patrol includes 20 of these guys, so that's 2 full squads of 10, which you are probably not going to want to include anytime soon. Next are 5 Scarab Occult Terminators. Now the situation is going to get better, because that's a great Terminator unit. They do quite well in both shooting and melee for 1000 Sun standards. They're also quite durable, and you can enhance them very significantly using stratagems and enhancements, and obviously character support as well. You also want to have them in your collection, because there is also a parameter that I use to gauge how good is a unit for your future collection, which is historical value. So how good that unit was from one edition to another. There are just units that are luckier than others, that stay relevant from one iteration of the game to another longer and more often than others, and I don't know why that happens. There's just something magical about those units. But for example, Hive Tyrant, the Tyrant's Hive Tyrant, you always need one to have one in your collection, because they're always good. Swarmlord, another Tyrant unit as well, that's also an almost always good unit to have. And Space Marines have those, Tau have those, everyone has a unit like that. And Scarab Occult Terminators can be called a unit like that, because they were good very often, and a box of 5 of these would cost you $60, so you are going to be saving money on this box. Next is Infernal Master. He costs $40, and it's the best source of cabal points we have. If you've seen my How to Play 1000 Suns video, which I recommend to watch, I have recommended it a lot there. In terms of damage, it's also a great character. It has a torrent weapon, which you can later enhance with the Arcane Vortex enhancement, which gives it extra strength, extra damage, so you can make one of your Infernal Masters a really hard-hitting guy, both in shooting and on Overwatch, because it's a torrent weapon. So all in all, one of the best characters 1000 Suns have, and also he provides a great sustain hits one ability for his guys in the squad as well. So good box all in all. The total value is $210, and $50 discount is the amount you would save if you would have bought the same units from GW Store. Obviously, these are prices that are on the original official GW Store. You are gonna get much better prices from local retailers and online stores. Next are the Bordon Patrol 1000 Suns, which costs roughly $160. I've seen a lot of these on eBay, so they should be available at the time of recording of this video, which is late February 2024. It includes 20 Rubric Marines, which would cost you $120 to buy them from the GW. They are the core of your army. You always want to have them, and 20 Rubrics is pretty much the amount you want, because you either want to run 2 5-mans and a 10-man, or potentially 4 5-mans or 2 10-mans, and all of these options are available to you if you have 20. They are historically very good. You almost always wanted to have some in your army, in 8th and 9th and then in 10th, and necessary now as well to provide protection for your characters. 2 Chaos Spawn, $55 for these, and they're pretty hard to get now from the GW Store. So, and they're a good unit. They're very durable, and they have small footprints, so you would want to have them on your, for example, home objective, or potentially to just run run into the middle and try to survive on an objective, making your opponent come out and shoot them. Total value here is unfortunately $175, so only a 15% discount means that you probably should not try to look for this box unless you find it for a very good price, better than 160. Next is Court of the Crimson King. I've seen a couple of boxes on the eBay, and I just wanted to give you my advice about this one. It costs around $370 to $400 for the box, and I want to give you an answer for is it worth it or not. Magnus would cost $270 from GW. He is a Primarch. You need him. He's one of the best units now in the book. 20 rubrics we've already discussed. 3 Exalted Sorcerers. They are the main kit where we get our characters. So apart from Infernal Master and the Terminator guy, most of the other characters are going to come from this particular kit. And it costs $60. But as you can see, the total value here is nowhere close to the asking price, or like almost the asking price, but still not a discount, which is what we're looking for. So essentially, if you buy this box, you would be buying a nice box instead of saving money. Now let's talk what else would you need to get when you're starting a collection, and I would be giving you total amounts that you want to be aiming for. So if, for example, you buy the Combat Patrol, you don't need to buy extra 10 Scarabocul Terminators, you just need extra 5. So you do the math. 10 total Scarabocul Terminators, so you need a full unit of 10. These are now necessary for non-Magnus builds, so when you need to have a brick, something that is, well, relatively fast, if you have the crystal on them, which is once per game fast, so not nearly close as Magnus, but still not that slow as just the brick of Terminators that don't have the crystal. And they do a lot of damage in shooting, they do quite a lot of damage in melee as well, and are relatively durable, so if you don't want Magnus, they are your choice. Next is a minimum of 20 rubrics, as we discussed. They are wonderful, beautiful models, absolutely a staple of the army, and I just don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to have them. I would probably build from these guys, and yes, the Terminators, you should magnetize the rocket launchers on them, because sometimes you want them, sometimes you don't, sometimes they're free, sometimes they're expensive, so magnetize them, it's not that difficult. With rubrics, I think you should probably build 2 5s of them with bolters and 10 of them with flamers, because that's at least how I have them, and it worked for me for now. Next is a minimum of 3 Exalted Sorcerers, so 1 box. I would build 1 on a disc as it comes in the box, and 2 on foot. That's usually a good mix right there. And even though they're called Exalted Sorcerers, you can also use them as normal sorcerers, and there is a special data sheet for that in the codex, so you will be able to utilize them in multiple roles in the army. Ahriman, he's historically very good. He was good in 8th, he was great in 9th, he is still very good in 10th, so it's one character that you always want to have in your collection. The only problem is now you can have him on disc and on foot, and sometimes when you just don't have those 5 points and you want to try to have them on foot, it might be difficult for you to have both, because it's hard to magnetize him on the disc. So probably just build him on a disc, and if you really feel like you're often encountering this situation where you lack those 5 points, get an extra one with just on foot, and thankfully there are quite a lot of these relatively cheaply available on eBay. Next are a minimum of 2 Infernal Masters. As we discussed already, they're just too good to pass on. Very good characters, nice looking guys as well, a very new Thousand Suns model. We don't get a lot of new Thousand Suns models nowadays, and this one is, I think, the newest they've released. Next are 2x3 Zangor Enlightened. They were not that great in previous editions, but still not bad, and now they're quite good. They're fast and very cheap recon unit that also has reactive movement, so they can fly away D6 if someone ends a move close to them. And cheap things with Thousand Suns is not a very popular or well-filled role, so you don't want to skip on the one of few things that is cheap. Magnus the Rat. We already discussed this. He's a Primarch, so not having him in your collection is almost a sin in my opinion. He's a beautiful model as well. And now he is one of the best models we have access to. And he was for a long time not that. He was very bad in 9th edition, most of the 9th edition, and I don't really remember how good he was in 8th. He was okay, I think, in 8th, and he's the best he has ever been now, so definitely get him and paint him, because Magnus is a very cool model to work on. 3x2 Chaos Spawn, so here I definitely recommend to use Necropolis Stalkers like I did for them, so that's an AOS model instead of a Thousand Suns one. Now, no TO in the world will probably give you any problems about this, apart from maybe, I don't know, GW official events if you get unlucky or something. You should be fine with these, and the biggest thing about them is they look better than the Chaos Spawn we have for the 40K, and also they come in 3 models per box, so you only need 2 boxes to have the maximum unit size for these, which is 3 units of 2 Chaos Spawn. I should probably make a painting guide of these because I have painted them myself for my Thousand Suns, and I think they look quite cool, so I will probably make that sometime in the future. Let me know in the comment section if you would like to have that painting guide on the channel. Next, you need minimum of 2 Mutilith Vortex Beasts, and here I highly recommend to at least have one, if not both of these as Etsy 3D printed models, because there are great models available there, and they cost much less than 90 bucks that you would pay for the Games Workshop one. And G-Dub's one is not really customizable, so you would have the very same model over and over, which doesn't look cool, and the Mutilith Vortex Beasts usually look much cooler. I also have seen some people use the Sphinx model from the Fantasy, Warhammer Fantasy, which also does look quite cool and fits well on the 120mm oval base. You need the Mutilith Vortex Beasts because they are historically good, and they also fill a unique role of a durable and relatively dangerous shooting and melee thing. The Thousand Suns really don't have anything like that apart from the Mutiliths, so you want to have them in your collection and in your army, to be honest. I would probably run 3. I have discussed them at length in the How to Play Thousand Suns video, so check that out. Lastly, what may be good to have for the future. So these are units that I don't recommend to buy immediately when you're starting a collection, but these would be good to have because they can become very good at some point. They're not that necessary now, maybe, apart from the Rhinos, which Rhinos are kind of always good, so they probably should be in the previous section, but I've just decided to add them here. Fortunately, we don't suffer from the indirect fire so much now because it's much more expensive currently, but everything can change back, so definitely pick up 1 or 2 Rhinos on your way for making the collection. Thankfully, these are not that expensive. First is Demon Prince, not great nowadays, both the fly-in version and non-fly-in version, but it was amazing in 9th edition, so I expect it to be good again at some point in the future, maybe when the Codex drops. Next is Hellbrute. They are again awesome in 9th edition. I love playing them. They were just incredibly resilient with -1 damage and 5-up invulnerable save, which was a big thing in 9th edition because the vehicles didn't have invulnerable saves and AP was higher. Not so great now, unfortunately, but still pretty reasonable price and pretty reasonable unit, and also gives you an ability to save up on the Cabal points, so anything that uses Cabal points near him will get a discount, essentially. Next is Zengor Shaman. It's a very cheap character, very cheap in terms of the dollar value and very cheap in terms of the points, and he gives you 1 Cabal point and provides his squad of Zengor Enlightened with 5-up Feel No Pain and +1 to hit, so both things that they really desperately need if you want to run a 6-man unit. You probably would not want to run the 6-man unit, I think, unless you really want to snipe out characters. Try that at least. But if you do, definitely pick up Zengor Shaman. And also, he was quite good in 9th edition as that extra source of a spell and the Cabal points. So I expect him to be useful in the future. Terminator Sorcerer, it's not on the picture here, but he's actually a must-have if you want to run a 10-man unit of Scarecrow Terminators. Otherwise, it's just a good unit to have, but you need him to give the unit of Terminators a crystal, and also he provides you with a relatively valuable lethal hits, though if you're trying to fish for devastating wounds, you don't want to have those, but alas, you cannot turn them off. And also he provides you with an ability to reroll hit rolls of 1 on a target that you choose within 18 inches of him, if I remember correctly. So a useful buff for the army in general. So let me know how you're planning to start your Thousand Suns, or if you've already done that, which was your first unit that you bought. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.